we are joined now by Archbishop Timothy Broglio, the Archbishop of the Military Services USA and the President of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. I'd like to get your thoughts on the passage of the National Defense Authorization Act by the House, which includes amendments banning paying for abortions and travel-related expenses for service members, as well as transgender surgeries.
Well, I'm very grateful that Congress was able to include those provisions in the defense bill. I think it's very important for the protection of human life and also the protection of the natural order of things. We continue to urge lawmakers to follow through with this. I hope that the Defense Authorization Act will also be passed by the Senate, although I suppose there are some questions about that. But certainly the protection of human life is very important. And the fact that the military should not be asked to act against their conscience is also very, very important. To put the military in a situation where they have to authorize spending or leave for something which is immoral is contrary to the whole notion of religious freedom and the freedom to practice one's faith. So I think this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and as we know, I mean, you serve U.S. Catholic military families. I'm curious, what are you hearing from them in regards to the funding and their concerns?
Well, I've heard from a number of the people that I've heard from are a number of commanding officers who are concerned about being constrained to give this authorization. And I even talked with one of the chiefs of chaplains about how to preserve a commanding officer's freedom of conscience in this situation. And the workaround that was discovered at the time was that he should kick it up to a higher level. But of course, that also presumes that at the higher level they're willing to make that authorization, which again is of great concern. People should not be placed in a situation where they have to act against their conscience. I'm reminded of a story from the Second World War where a paratrooper, a Nazi paratrooper, refused to participate in a firing squad of the local Catholic pastor and went and stood by the pastor and was killed with him. That's almost the kind of courage that's called for in this situation, the ability to resist immoral acts and also not to be a party to them.
Yeah, and as you may have heard, Your Excellency, National Security Adviser Jake Sullivan, he told CNN over the weekend that he doesn't think the current version of the bill will make it to President Joe Biden's desk. How can momentum, be maintained on these important issues now that so much attention has been brought to it?
Well, I think one way to do that would be to have people, faithful people, contact their representatives in the Congress and in the Senate and urge that this freedom of conscience provision be respected, and also urge that it's not right that taxpayers' money should be spent on something that a large portion of the population considers immoral and is in fact immoral.
Yeah, and something else I'd like to touch on, Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, as you know, has been blocking military promotions because of a DOD policy that uses taxpayer money to fund travel and paid time off needed for a soldier or family member in order to procure an abortion. What do you make of his actions? What do you think about this?
Well, I admire his zeal, but it's really directed at the wrong place, because those in the United States, the policymaking agency is both the executive and the legislative branches of government. So really, the military is placed in a situation where they are told to obey the civilian authority. So I'm not exactly sure that blocking promotions, which punishes the military, changes what the civilian branch, what the Department of Defense has decided to do. There should really be some restraint placed on the Department of Defense's ability to make those restrictions, rather than punishing the men and women in the armed forces who are basically required to take the orders that they're given.
Well, Your Excellency, great to be with you today. Always grateful for your time. Thank you and God bless.